From New York, the city that never sleeps, it's Where's Elvis This Week. Our guest tonight, comedian Felix Dexter, writer and critic Joe Queenan, columnist Lowry Turner, and Saturday Night Live's Norm Macdonald. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Stewart.
Hello and welcome to America, ladies and gentlemen, and specifically New York City. And let me remind you of the old saying, New York City, if you can make it here, the rest of the world thinks you're a condescending prick. I'm Jon Stewart, or as I'm referred to in America, Mr. One Slip Up away from hosting a game show. And by the way, in response to all your cards and letters, Sagittarius. Okay, tonight on Where's Elvis This Week, we'll be aiming to once again bring our two countries a little closer together. Spitting distance, if you will. We have so much in common, Britain and America. You like beer, we like beer. You watch Friends, we watch Friends. You have Di, we wish you would. You see? This week in America, the stock market hit a new high, Dole and Clinton were debating again, and talk show host Kathie Lee Gifford has said she's going to adopt an underprivileged baby, as if poverty and famine weren't enough for this kid. Now it's got to live with Kathie Lee Gifford. How much can one baby take? And finally, of course, where's Elvis this week? Well, according to the internet, he's in fact moved to Britain. He's been spotted buying jelly donuts in Asda in Glasgow, singing and drinking in a bar in Lowestoft, and queuing for a burger at McDonald's in Windsor. All we know is Elvis is dead, but he's still hungry. All right. Let's move on to the show, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? Hello. How are you? Queuing, I said. Joining me tonight from England, Sunday Mirror columnist and agony aunt Lowry Turner and comedian Felix Dexter. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. All right. And on the American side, writer, critic, and broadcaster Joe Queenan, and from Saturday Night Live, Mr. Norm Macdonald is with us. So let's get on with the headlines here. We've met everybody. Lowry, let me bring this up to you. Definitely the biggest piece of news in the world this week is this headline right here. Take a look. Yes, she's Madonna now. It's about Madonna having a baby, yes. Which to me, with all the sex she's had, law of averages, I would think. So why do people care about this?
The amazing thing, of course, is that she actually had the baby herself. Surely a woman with that degree of wealth would pay somebody else to look fat for 9 months. I mean, she's had to hide away, hasn't she, for her entire pregnancy, because, you know, most women, their ankles swell a little. This woman's neck swelled. I mean, you know, she looked horrendous. According to there's been much talk, obviously, about the naming of the baby, Lourdes, and the Vatican are not terribly happy about that.
Did the Vatican actually have a response? Did the Pope come out and go, she did what?
I think she should be congratulated on.
Who?
Madonna should be congratulated on choosing this name, because here's a woman who's spent her entire life, basically, throwing open the door to her boudoir to any sexual pilgrim who happens to be passing. And so she calls her daughter.
You know what? For all the talk of that, I don't know one guy who's done her. You know? For all the talk of, oh, Madonna has everybody, me and my friends are sitting around going, hey.
But the sad fact is...
Where's our turn at the deli counter?
The sad fact is the one guy who has done her, as he so sublimely put it, he's been told that she's not interested in him anymore. So this guy has got to live with the fact that he's given birth to perhaps the most famous baby in the current times, you know, in the past few years.
Our savior.
Well, precisely. Everybody knows that.
That's what happens to every man after his wife has a baby. This is no exception.
I think we've taken a turn for the bitter.
Well, I think most women, after they've had babies, are less interested in their husbands for a while because they're tired, you know, they're worn out.
Well, plus they've had like a 6-pound thing go through the birth canal.
All right, well, let's move on, shall we? Before this really degrades. Joe, this seems to make perfect sense. Here's the next headline. Handguns outlawed. Now, this is in Britain. They've outlawed handguns. Why can't we ban guns in this country? What's our problem?
Guns are part of folklore. You know,
folklore?
Yeah, I mean, people have always thought, you know, the founding of the West and everything, and all the lunatics in America really believe that if you have a gun, you can defend yourself against the government if the government comes. So I don't think...
But hoop skirts are a part of folklore, and we don't wear those anymore.
You make a good point.
Norm, would you ban guns if you...
No, not in a million years. I got a gun. I own a gun.
All right.
That's a bit worrying, don't you think?
Well, guns, you
guy
got to
has a
have
gun.
guns on account of, what if another character has a gun, you don't have a gun?
Now, that's an interesting point.
Guns really are horrible, and they should be banned in all countries. You shouldn't have one.
Oh, I would love it if I was the only guy to have one, to tell you the truth.
Looks like Norm would be getting a lot of free lunches with that one.
You see, it's called the right to bear arms, isn't it? Isn't that supposedly
we have a constitutional
the constitutional
right, yes.
precept? Oh, the right to bear arms, but actually, it's the right to kill people. I mean, it's so simple. That's what a gun does.
I think you're just bitter because our right that we had got us our country. I mean, let's face facts. If we didn't have guns 220 years ago, you guys would still be taxing the tea. But we had a couple of, you know, we had a couple of rifles. We marched down. You guys wanted to walk in single file. I don't know why you did that, but you did. And
if we hadn't taught you how to use the guns in the first place, then you wouldn't have been able to.
Oh yeah, like Geronimo didn't teach us how to shoot straighter than Lord Cornwallis. All right. Felix, we got some more headlines going here. Have you had one of these in England? Million Man March in England. Are there a million black guys in England to have a march? Or do they have like 100,000?
I think actually there's about 5 of us.
Oh my God.
Things are pretty depleted right now, what with me being over here. And the way it was perceived, certainly by the majority of people in Britain, was actually a little bit distorted, because I think there was this notion that it was some kind of anti-Semitic initiative, and that Farrakhan is viewed in that way. Now, I don't know enough about what he's been saying recently.
No, I think he loves Jews. I've seen him.
Well, yeah,
in fact, the other day he had a bagel with a schmear. The guy loves the Jews.
Now, I think it's stupid for minority groups, Jews and blacks, to like not get on, because hey, we all know about persecution.
I stayed indoors that day. You know, I just try to stay out of the way when these seminal events occur that can't do me any good. See, I'm Irish-American, and the great thing about being Irish is that you can claim to be a minority, but you still control the police department. So you don't have to worry about anything.
Let's go. Finally, Norm, this looks like the election has finally got exciting as Bob Dole got dirty. Gloves are off. What took Bob Dole so long to get nasty in the campaign?
It took him a long time to get his gloves off because of his one arm that doesn't... So he's like, oh, can you help me with my gloves? Coming off here. Very well.
I feel shame and yet delight.
That man lost that arm at the Battle of Anzio fighting the Nazis, and you make fun of him like that.
No, I love Dole. I'll vote for Dole. He's the best man, you know.
Norm, I hate to say this, and I know this to bring this up, but I don't think Canadians can vote in our elections. We appreciate your support and your enthusiasm.
I'll tell you, I can't vote in the election, but I can pay the huge taxes to Clinton.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country. All right. Do you believe Dole has gotten nasty too late? Have you seen Dole get nasty?
This man is not capable of getting nasty. From the perspective of all the way across the Atlantic, you know, he just appears to be this doddery old guy who falls off the edge of stages occasionally. And that is largely what we're seeing.
Well, you see, Dole has got a bad image problem in Britain, really, because Dole means unemployment benefit in Britain.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, I'm going to really sort the economy out. My name's Mr. Unemployment Benefit. You know? Doesn't compute.
I think Dole didn't go on the attack as much as he could have, because there's scandal after scandal after scandal with this Clinton character, you know. Yeah. And I was reading one this morning. They said Clinton, apparently back when he was governor of Arkansas, you know, back then, he got real drunk one night and apparently had sex with Hillary.
Well, let's see what all this negative stuff's about. They say Dole has gone negative, and in Britain, apparently, a picture of Tony Blair with red eyes caused a major controversy. But in America, viewers have been exposed to $450 million worth of political ads, 90% of which are negative. So are we just mean people? You know, why are we being shown these things? Let's take a look at some.
Dole voted to raise payroll taxes, Social Security taxes, the 90 income tax increase, $900 billion in higher taxes. And look closely at his risky tax scheme. He'd actually raised taxes on 9 million working families. Bob Dole, 35 years in Washington, 35 years of higher taxes.
We send them off to school, and we worry. Teenage drug use has doubled since 1992. And Bill Clinton, he cut the White House drug office 83%. His own Surgeon General even considered legalizing drugs. And in front of our children on MTV, the president himself.
If you had to do over again, would you inhale? Sure, if I could. I tried before.
Bill Clinton, he just doesn't get it. But we do.
They say American people hate negative advertising, but yet it's shown to work. So what's the...
I can't believe people think that that's particularly negative.
That's not negative.
When Andrew Jackson was president in the 1830s, they said that he was a bigamist. They said that he'd murdered a minister. That he went to his deathbed convinced that the critics had killed his wife because of these accusations. We don't have anything like this. Grover Cleveland was accused of having an illegitimate child, which he had. Warren Harding was accused of having a mistress. You know, there were all kinds of accusations, which he had. But there were all kinds of like horrible accusations about guys, and then they've got this kind of stuff, which is where, you know, Bill Clinton once said that he almost inhaled marijuana. I mean, I don't. This whole story.
You think we've actually gotten kinder, that we're not nearly as negative as we used to be?
I just think these commercials just like suck. Right. And that's the issue, is that the commercials just suck.
So would you like to see what, like singing raisins for the government commercials? What do you need?
I'd like to see really nasty. I'd like to see ads where they said, Clinton, you know, this is the motel, this is the desk clerk, he paid $27.95, here's the receipt, here are the sheets. You know, that'd be negative. You know.
Do they do negative now? This. What was it, Tony Blair? What was it?
Yeah. These were ridiculous. All they did is they sort of cut out, he got a picture of him, cut out his eyes, and then put somebody else's eyes, that coloured red, upside down. I mean, you know, it was a joke. What I would like to see is a bit more...
But there was an outcry, am I right? There was an outcry against negative advertising. So will negative advertising never come Britain's way?
Well, we already have negative advertising, but obviously it is more muted. But simply that's because there isn't the money in Britain to engage in the vast amounts of advertising that you have here. But we also happen to have much better advertising for other products. Our ads are far better than yours. I mean,
our products are far better than yours. No. You know, like we've got cars.
It's got a point. What would you rather have? A song about a car or a car?
Wait.
You know? I think we've really been able to foster some understanding here. I expect to fire on Yorktown any minute now.
I think
you're witching again.
The thing that's happening that we are sort of catching from America, which is rather worrying, is that we're starting to do these fake documentary type ads for politicians, and they're all very, the violins are playing, and that, I think, is about the worst kind of political affairs, because you basically you want to throw up as soon as you see it.
What would you rather see for your party political broadcast? Would you rather see a guy come on and go, we don't know what we're doing?
I like that ad where they go, hey, check out this guy's eyes. Look at them.
Yeah, but you see, if you're in an environment, which is the case in Britain, where political analysis or acute questioning of politicians takes place a lot by journalists, where, for example, even the Prime Minister can go into a television studio and be really grilled seriously about what he's done. And sometimes to the point where it happened a couple of weeks ago, a politician was so badly grilled by a journalist that he rang up the BBC saying, what the bloody hell is going on? How dare they speak to me in this way? If you've got that kind of rigorous political examination of what's going on, the advertisements become irrelevant.
We don't have intelligent journalists like that. We have people named Cokie. You know, we have, like, the President of the United States comes in and gets interviewed by somebody named Cokie. And Cokie asks really hard questions. Then, you know, no politician in America would submit to intense grilling, because we don't have any journalists who do that. We have,
you don't think Sam Donaldson is a relatively intense journalist as far as politicians are concerned?
Not by English standards, no. Those guys are really tough. Everybody over here is a cream puff compared to them.
Right.
They are.
While Americans are pessimistic about politicians improving their lives, they're very optimistic about books, audio tapes, and videos improving their lives. Yes, the self-help movement is alive and well, with many Americans believing, I could do anything if I only knew what it was. We asked Lori Pike to go and talk to some losers who buy this kind of thing.
How do you create an extraordinary quality of life today?
All right, let's see what we got here. Handbook of coping, that'll be useful. Panic no more. Nasty people, how to stop being hurt by them without becoming one of them. I'll try. Don't blame mother. Listen up, girlfriend. Lessons on life from the Queen of Advice. I am right, you are wrong. Definitely take that one. The Anger Workbook. I'll start with lesson 1. With all these books, are we really coping with our problems, though, or are we just thinking up new ones?
Well, I have a collection at home myself, and that seems to be the only kind of reading I do these days. My feeling is so strongly that while you have oxygen in you, that the whole point of being on planet Earth, why we all really burn to get here and to incarnate into these families that are so troublesome, is to work things out.
I bought the book because I feel like there's something in my life that has been holding me back success-wise in my career. I'm an actor, and it's helped me a lot, actually. I just finished shooting a film, and I just booked a commercial just now.
People collectively again are saying, you know what, I am entitled to a healthier, more fulfilling life. I am entitled to love. I want to have a career. I mean, look at this section here on ethical business and right livelihood. I am entitled to love my work. I am entitled to have friends that I adore.
Did you think and grow rich after you read Think and Grow Rich?
Absolutely.
You did?
Absolutely. I created my company 4 years ago, right after I read Think and Grow Rich. So I bought a self-help book to help myself. It works.
Personally, when I see people reading self-help books, I'm always a bit suspicious of them, especially the ones that say get rich quick and how to, like, enter your inner self in 5 minutes.
Earth is an anagram for heart, E-A-R-T-H, and heart being H-E-A-R-T. Everyone on Earth is working on their heart chakra center. What is the #1 killer? Heart disease.
I'd like to see more of self-help.
I'd like to see more security in the bookstores. That's what I'd like to say.
I really think that 30% of the people in any society are jerks. And you just want to try to keep that potential down, that number down. 30% of the people...
30%.
Obviously, Nazi Germany had a higher percentage.
Right.
But 30% of the people in any society are jerks. And as long as it doesn't go above 30%, that's okay. So people reading these books are jerks. So don't worry about it. If it gets up to like 50, 60%...
So these books are not helpful. They're not making us
So
happy.
they don't have any effect on really cool people like us who have our lives totally together.
So that means like one of us is probably a jerk.
Although these books are starting to sell in Britain now, the one about women are from Venus, men are from Mars is doing very well.
Which, by the way, is not true.
These self-help books are very, very American, because if you read our advice, most of our agony aunts, they're very sort of like, dump him, he's obviously no good for you, and go and find yourself another man. Whereas if you read these books, it's all like, well, what happened in your childhood, and what kind of personality are you? You know, this is all useless information.
Nobody wants to take responsibility, you know? It's always like, hey, my dad, anally raped me or something, you know? I mean, who of us haven't been anally raped by their fathers? I mean, really.
Yeah, you should get over it, shouldn't you?
American self-help books are all about getting rich, and because English people have such lower expectations, like you don't have books like How to Get Rich in a Year. It's like How to Get 5 quid ahead by Thursday. You know, how to win 7 pounds in the lottery.
It's actually
how to save 40 pence on that next sandwich.
You see, actually, in Britain, the notion of self-help is not like, hey, all this stuff about finding your inner self and all that. It's things like, hey, you know, I really want to learn to make really good mayonnaise or something, or
it's pragmatic. You're saying you're pragmatic.
Or grow nice turnips, or great big cucumbers. You know, something that's useful. You see, there's a whole notion that. Well,
do you think it's the context of the society, in that we've had it so easy here in America that we've had a chance to become this self-involved? Whereas, let's say, for instance, Britain, or for instance, Japan, where they had an atomic bomb dropped on their heads. If you have an atomic bomb dropped on your head, it's hard after that to go, what I'm afraid to love.
It's
you know.
I was surprised to see on the film that there were men buying these books, because certainly in Britain you'd never get a guy buying any of those books.
In England, you're encouraged to be emotional about very little, or to express emotions about very little. One of the things you can be emotional about is sport, occasionally, football particularly, or animals. You know, you can get excited or emotionally in touch with that.
Right.
Perhaps I said the wrong thing when I said excited with animals. I didn't mean that. But you can get emotional about them.
No,
like, you
animals.
could be talking to yourself in the street and, like, going to the toilet in your trousers and, you know, kind of totally insane. And everyone goes, oh, well, yeah, High Court judge, you know, fine, you know. But if you're sort of even mildly thinking about going to therapy, oh, well, you're a nutter. You're a complete nutter. So there's a strange imbalance. It's almost like a prejudice against it.
Because self-help, in essence, you wouldn't need a book, would you?
I'll tell you a good self-help book.
Yeah?
Holy Bible.
Worked for me.
Norm, I know you. I know you've never seen the Bible.
I've seen the Bible in those hotel rooms you can
See, that's an interesting point, though. If you're not in therapy and you're not taking drugs, where are you going to go to ease your pain? Perhaps the church. Unlike in Britain, religion in America, big business and growing. So if you need a few tips, here's how the church is aggressively wooing new customers.
World Reach. It's about preaching the gospel. It's about producing television specials. It's about providing hope through Operation Blessing. But mostly, World Reach is about Jesus.
Father, in the precious holy name of Jesus, we pray right now that your power will come into the lives of people who are watching this program.
All it takes is just 65 cents a day, $20 a month, because Jesus is the answer.
Touch their bodies, heal them in Jesus' name. Restore that skin to normal.
In the name of Jesus, receive an answer to your prayer. Terry, do you have something?
You've suffered for a long time from a ringing in your ears that's very annoying, and God is releasing that for you right now.
Seeing what appeared to be a golden opportunity to share the gospel with a fairly captive audience, Pastor Perry Harrison started using the church's loudspeaker to expose the students to Christian music.
The Lord right now is setting you free from that terrible pressure in your head.
In America, we're spoiled. And we have everything in abundance. But here, they don't have anything. And the most we can give them is hope in Jesus.
Now, if you prayed with me, it's the most important prayer you ever prayed. I want you to do something about it. I want you to call us, tell us you prayed. For those who contribute, we have something called Jesus is the Answer. And we also believe in the Great Pumpkin and the Tooth Fairy.
Well. Norm.
Yeah.
In the United States, religion, big boom in business now. Are we just a pure and moral people? Is that the situation here in America?
I don't know. You know, like you always hear of people saying they're Christians,
yeah,
and then they don't read the Bible. It's insane.
Well, they say 90% of people have a Bible.
Have a Bible, but you figure you read it. You know, like I mean, they get the Bible, and it's supposed to be the Word of God. And they go, yeah, I'm going to get to that. I'm reading this Grisham thing first. Now I'll get to the God thing after, you know. God, he wrote a book, too.
Is religion in decline in Britain? Is it, because here it's obviously booming.
I can't tell you how stunned I am by the fact that you even have that on your TV.
What do you mean? Jesus is a competitive business in this country. You got to have a band and a good choir or people don't show. It's not enough to, you know, cure pleurisy. You got to have good music in there.
Is it just... Go on. Go on.
You see, this is English. You see, no, go ahead.
It's so polite, I'm moving on.
I'll tell you what I think about religion in this country.
Please, Joe. Settle it.
This is the only thing that embarrasses me about America. I think America is just so great. So when like French people say, but you have guns and you kill people, figure, well, who cares? So what? We didn't collaborate with the Nazis. And, you know, so you've got all these things that you know, people would criticize America for, you know, violent movies, things like that. And I think that they're just fine. But the religion thing really is embarrassing because, you know, you see this guy, this Huckleberry here, this Pat Robertson, and the guy ran for president. I mean, he's an idiot. He's a buffoon. He's a village idiot. And he's on television every night. He's got his own cable channel. So, you know, it is embarrassing. But the most interesting thing about religion in America is that nobody who goes around America really thinks Americans are religious people. you know, like spiritual people.
Wasn't there a guy called Jerry Falwell or something here who
There's
was
still a guy called Jerry
Falwell.
Falwell.
Yeah, who was going on about he saw 70-foot Jesuses or something? Is that what he said?
Good drugs in Virginia.
I mean, and people were saying, oh yeah, you know, you saw a 70-foot Jesus. Yeah, I'll buy.
But
some.
in all fairness, you got to figure Jesus is a pretty tall guy.
But what sort of car would he drive? Do you think he would have a limo?
That's a good point.
But in other
70
countries,
feet's not that big.
In other countries, once a virgin or a saint appears, then they set up a temple, they set up some kind of grotto, you have big lines, you have people lined up waiting to get in. I was in Lourdes a couple years ago, and there were 16 guys in Cleveland Indians shirts waiting to be cured. I figure you guys are going to wait a long time, because the Virgin's, you know, she's backed up. She's still got, you know, she's got the San Diego Padres guys to take care of first. But in America, that would never happen. Someone would say the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared in a you know, she appeared at an internet site maybe, and people might believe that. But if somebody said she appeared here in a forest, you wouldn't get a pilgrimage there. You wouldn't get people believing it. And the reason is people don't really believe in God.
If you go to Britain, you certainly wouldn't get politicians saying, "And God bless Britain." Because the population would just laugh, and yet you have God bless America. And they say it with feeling. And you're all supposed to say it with feeling.
We actually wrote a song about it.
To be working.
Getting back to the point. How is the Church of England going to stop the decline of people who have stopped going to church and stopped believing?
What the Church of England, I think, is going to have to do, maybe, is to put television screens up for the football results and the lottery, and maybe pinball machines and
make it more entertaining
and
for
a bar
people
in the corner or something. Yeah, I mean, you see, because the Church of England has got this strange position. I mean, it's very integrated with the class system, and it's one of those institutions that historically has been very highly respected. But in recent years, all of those institutions have been diminished in terms of the way people look at them: the judiciary, the monarchy, and the Church of England itself. So the Church of England is really on a downward slope, and I don't know how it's going to be corrected. Basically, because all of these institutions, they've been...
Would it matter? Would it matter to the quality of life over there if it went away?
They've lost the mythology.
Let's say it went away.
The only way that I think that it would increase in popularity is to take a leaf out of the book of all those sort of wacko, alternative, crystal, new age rubbish.
You know, for a long time in the church, in most Christian churches, Catholic, Protestant, whatever, the principal influence was, of course, Jesus Christ, because he was crucified. If you go into a church today in America, the principal influence is the Carpenters. I mean, Karen Carpenter.
Right.
That all you hear is every single person who lost their job playing the piano at the bar at the Marriott last week now does the religious service in your church. And there's this real strong musical element in all of these churches. I mean, you go in there and they're playing like the average white band type songs, but with these like religious lyrics. And there's this whole early 70s feel to religious churches, which is why I feel that churches must be eliminated immediately.
And
I mean,
overnight.
You just got to get rid of the music. The first thing you do is you got to get rid of the music, and you got to do things like when they have these blessings of animals. So like bring traditional biblical animals like donkeys and dogs and stuff. People bring like Gila monsters. People bring Gila monsters and iguanas and ferrets. You can't. God wouldn't bless those things. You know, it's sacrilege or simony or something.
I just have to say this: for Jews, it's just funny to watch the whole thing unfold, because we just think we've been cold kicking it for 4,000 years, and we don't give a shit what you guys do.
I went to a bar mitzvah a couple of weeks ago.
You know, you don't have to say that like that. I went to a freak show at Coney Island once. You don't have to say it like that. You don't have to... I went to a bar mitzvah. You people are insane. Once again, that's all for tonight. Thanks to Lowry Turner, Felix Dexter, Joe Queenan, and Norm Macdonald. Please bow your heads, and God bless America.
And there'll be more burning issues from both sides of the Atlantic in 2 weeks' time.